So let me tell you why I will die on this hill about third spaces. Before that, good day. My name is Sublime Prime. I'm an indie artist and as well as a holistic healer. And with this, we'll kick it back. So I die on the hill about third spaces because, to start off, third spaces are places that you go to commune and or to exist within that are outside of your typical places of going and or working, right? So normally people will go from work and house, work and apartment, work and wherever they sleep, right? A third space is the second space that you go in that is outside of where you dormitory or rest at, or at the place that you work at and or go to learn something, educate, whatnot. And so with that, some third spaces can be included as like coffee shops. Sometimes it's a friend's place. Sometimes it is a park. Sometimes it is just a lobby or any of the above, right? It could be the gym. And third spaces, the reason they're so important is because they give us a place to exist informally, and that is not within a expected standard, as well as nearly having the same amount of societal force or pressure surrounding it. And the reason I say that is because when you're at work, you have a specific standard at which you have to behave, you have to dress, you have to look, and certain pars that you have to meet due to the importance and the stress of imagery, as well as the belief in the power of standards of authority, right? So, for example, if you work in an office job, you're expected to wear your suit, you're expected to have your hair done in a way that is well. Oftentimes, well is not really meaning well, it's just meaning approving of white standard in America. And with that, you are required to almost look alike, yet still keep your individuality. And, or for example, maybe you work at a restaurant, right? You work at a restaurant, you're expected to wear your shirt for your job, you're expected to wear your maybe a apron and non-slip shoes, right? Work in a garage, you're expected to wear some non-slip shoes, maybe you wear some jeans and or a jacket of some sort or a sweater. And so with that, there's certain standards that are upheld and within the belief of specific spaces and within this time. And when you think of your household, right, not only are there specific things that you may or may not wear, there may be a more relaxation on that note, but likewise to the workspace, depending on the household that you live in, that may not be a space where you can have certain conversations. So let's say with the workplace, you may not want to have more personal conversations and or emotional conversations, right? Because of the implied standard of professionalism, right? It's not, and the reason I emphasize implied is because it doesn't necessarily mean that there is one that is explicitly stated. It's more of like a cultural shared thing that people want to uphold because they don't know better than that, as well as because they think that they have to uphold that. And so in the household, there may be something surrounding that around emotion, right? Typically in America, emotion is not something that I would say, at least on like wherever I'm looking at, like emotions are something that are not often able to be expressed within neither of the spaces, whether it's work or households. Oftentimes there is a limited capacity to that, which is why people in America oftentimes rely on a lot of their friends, more so than their family, I would say, when it comes to certain emotional conversations, certain conversations around their sense of spirituality and faith and their personal life and endeavors, right? And this said, right, there it goes back to why is the third space so important for us. And it's because in these spaces, there's so much formality that we don't really get to exist as we are sometimes, right? Whether it's because there actually is a formality or force in the sense of people don't want to hear something and or you're not supposed to dress this way and or you're not supposed to express these certain things, or if there's an implied one that you've came to believe because of certain biases that you've came upon because of your lived experience up until this point, right? And so with this noted, a third space is important because it offers a space where you can actually exist as you are and be free in that way without the concern of judgment as well as the concerns of nearly the same amount of forces. This is why when you're in college, right, why people always reflect back in college oftentimes is because in America at least, and in Western civilization in general, colleges and universities are like one of the major times where people actually use third spaces and occupy them, where they exist outside of class and outside of working and trying to get money to pay for things, etc. Like it's one of the spaces where you have the most time in community. And that's why people reflect back on it so much and enjoy it / feel the nostalgia towards it. Because oftentimes people will never have that same sense of community because they never put themselves in third spaces and or realize it's the third space in itself that helps create that sense of community and creates that nostalgia, because it's not necessarily about nostalgia, it's about the togetherness, it's about feeling a part of something, it's the wholeness, it's the way that you realize you're never really alone. It's the way that you realize that there are people that you can talk to. There are people that are similar and yet different to you as well, you know? And part of this, the reason I push for it so much is because it does such a number for your mental health positively when you have third spaces, right? And at the same time, it's so underrated. And it's just because we don't really know the value of community, I believe, in America. And it's because we have this rugged sense of individualism, like dog eat dog mentality. If someone's doing something that you're doing, you can't be cool with them, like you can't support. There's this hustle that just inevitably becomes toxic, but at the same time there's a rugged individualism that it creates because it creates individuals within silos rather than individuals as themselves amongst everyone in the community in as a whole. And that's something that's very dangerous, and it's because it breaks us apart and it breaks us away from the power that people hold when they're together. When people are together, you can get mad stuff done. You can get stuff done as far as tasks, of course. Everyone knows that through organizations, through work, through business assignments, through hangouts even, right? But you also can do things like have such healing conversations. You can create ideas that you've never thought of. You can create things that people need where you are at and where you are. And so the neglect of third spaces harms us because we don't recognize the power we have as people, nor do we recognize the power that we have as a whole. And how this separation of people and this split, because of the lack of third spaces, divides us and allows us to be easier controlled, to be easier manipulated, as well as to be easily led astray politically, institutionally, and culturally. And from these silos, we end up putting ourselves almost in cycles that repeat and have us chasing certain things at times or chasing certain feelings of wholeness. And so when you think about it in that way, third spaces are something that can be not only connected to social belongingness and our sense of community and something that affect our psychological or our psyche, as well as like our mental states in that. But now you can see how there's a connection to that politically, right? But at the same time, not only is there one politically, it also would help us understand things like addiction even further, right? We would be able to understand things such as loneliness. We would understand things such as suicide. We would understand a lot more about mental health if we actually were together with people. and not just being ruggedly individuals, we would understand the illusion that competition is. We would be able to break down and break away from these illusions that create these limits on not only ourselves, but the limits on what people can do together. There's so much power in the power of one person, right? But if you can't, it's hard to see that as one person without being able to have a second person to reflect that back. Then you think of 3, and then you think of 4 and 5 and 6, and then you think of a group. So much has been changed by the fewest amounts of people, and so the fewest amounts of people have made such impacts, and it's just because of the sense of community that is created. But that sense of community will never be created in your silos. It's going to be created in third spaces. And so on that note, you need to go to places that give you a sense of community, right? You need to go to your coffee shops. You need to go to the bar. You need to go to the gym. You need to go down the street. You need to take the bus. And you need to go outside of your 1 to 2 routine. It caps humanity in that way. And that's why I die on the hill of third spaces and will always try to assist someone in finding one, because it literally makes the difference between the potential for humanity and for one human. That's what it is. Damn, I didn't realize how much rocking in this chair felt so good. What? Bro. It's fire. But you catch my drift? Died then. So, Sublime Prime. I'm out. Check out other videos. Check out my music. My music drives all of the stuff I do. And was the thing that got me from here to here. And the reason I go here to here is because I don't want to make it seem like that. I could do that, but growth isn't just like vertical. It's also like diagonal. It's horizontal. It looks like anything. So, yeah. Have an amazing day. Give yourself time to breathe. Allow yourself to be in third spaces and exist somewhere informally. Or if you'd like to do this, I love this way. Just be the third space, man. I love to be able to create backstage experiences for people every day, because I just don't care about the front stage, man. Not the way I used to. Of course, it can matter at times, but it's just the front stage is what holds us back. So if there's anything I can do to push anyone towards just being backstage and just like being honest, like if you're having a bad day and someone asks you how are you doing, say that you're having a bad day. Be real. All that fake shit ain't cool. Don't be nonchalant about it either. Third spaces are important for that reason, or else you just gotta keep doing that same stuff. Deuces.